What if the most terrifying spiritual attack you've ever faced, the one that made you feel abandoned, worthless, and on the verge of giving up, was not a sign of your failure? What if it was the devil's victory flag, raised in desperation, signaling his own imminent defeat? You feel like you're losing, but a saint who battled demons in the flesh for 50 years would tell you that you are closer to God than ever before. The greatest sign that the devil is losing the war for your soul is when he unleashes his entire arsenal against you. It feels like hell, but it is the prelude to heaven. To understand this spiritual paradox, we must turn to a man who lived on the front lines of this invisible war every single day. Saint Pio of Pietrelcina. This was not a man who merely read about spiritual warfare in books. He was a prisoner of the confessional, reading souls, and a mystic who bore the stigmata, the very wounds of Christ, on his body for 5 decades. But he also bore the wounds of a different kind. From the earliest days of his life as a friar, he was physically and spiritually assaulted by demonic forces in ways that would break an ordinary man. They appeared as monstrous animals, as tempting figures, even as his own spiritual director to deceive him. They beat him, tormented him, and tried to drag him into despair. So when Padre Pio speaks about the devil's tactics, he speaks with the authority of a seasoned veteran, a 5-star general in the army of God. He learned the enemy's playbook by having it used against him, page by agonizing page. So why the intense attack? It's simple. The devil is not a fool. He is a creature of immense intelligence, but his intelligence is corrupted by pride and hatred. He does not waste his most powerful weapons on souls that are already his, or on those who pose no threat. The lukewarm, the indifferent, the souls content with mediocrity. He leaves them be. They are already drifting in his current. He focuses his rage, his most cunning temptations, his most violent assaults, on the souls that are making progress. The souls that pray when they don't feel like it. The souls that get up after every fall. The souls that are on the verge of reaching a new, deeper level of union with God. An intense spiritual attack is a twisted compliment. It is the enemy's acknowledgement that you are a high-value target. He is losing ground, and he is panicking. He throws everything he has at you because he knows his time to influence you is running out. His first and most common weapon is doubt. He will not appear with horns and a pitchfork. He will appear as a whisper in your own mind, using your own voice. Does God really love you? After what you've done, are your prayers even being heard? Look around. Nothing is changing. Is any of this even real? Maybe you're just fooling yourself. He isolates a past sin you've already confessed and magnifies it, making you feel as though God's mercy could not possibly cover such a stain. He points to your suffering and calls it evidence of God's absence, not his purifying presence. Padre Pio warned a spiritual daughter about this, saying, "The devil is like a rabid dog tied to a chain. Beyond the length of the chain, he cannot seize anyone. And you, therefore, keep your distance. If you get too close, you will be caught." The doubt is the dog's bark, trying to lure you closer to the chain. If doubt doesn't work, he moves to a more insidious tactic, scrupulosity. This is a temptation aimed at the most devout souls. He takes your genuine desire to please God and twists it into a crippling fear of offending him in every tiny detail. You begin to see sin where there is no sin. You question the validity of every confession, wondering if you forgot something, or if you weren't sorry enough. Prayer becomes a source of anxiety instead of peace. You become so focused on your own perceived unworthiness that you are paralyzed, unable to move forward in love and trust. Padre Pio, who suffered from this himself in his youth, understood it perfectly. He wrote, "Live in tranquility, because the danger is not real, but imaginary. It is a trick of the devil to make you lose your peace. The enemy wants you so obsessed with the specks of dust on your shoes that you never look up to see the loving face of the Father waiting for you." His third great weapon is the feeling of utter abandonment. This is perhaps his cruelest assault. He works to convince you that you are completely and utterly alone, that God has turned his face from you, that your guardian angel has left, that even the saints are deaf to your pleas. This desolation is a profound spiritual pain, a darkness so thick you can feel it. It is the echo of Christ's cry from the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me?" But here is the secret that Padre Pio knew. This feeling of abandonment is the very thing that unites you most closely to the suffering Christ. God has not left you. He has drawn you into the mystery of his own passion. He is allowing you to feel what his Son felt, to purify your love and strip it of all consolations, so that you love him for who he is, not for the good feelings he provides. So if these attacks, doubt, scruples, isolation, are raging, what is the number one sign that the devil is actually losing? It is not the sudden disappearance of the attacks. It is not a feeling of euphoria or a miraculous vision. The number one sign, the undeniable proof that the enemy's power over you is broken, is this: a small, quiet, persistent peace in the very depths of your soul, even while the storm rages on the surface. It is a peace that makes no logical sense. Your mind is in turmoil. Your emotions are a wreck. Your circumstances may be terrible. But deep within, in that center of your being where God dwells, there is a tiny, indestructible anchor of calm. A quiet knowing that, despite all evidence to the contrary, everything will be all right. This is the peace the world cannot give. The devil can create noise, chaos, and confusion. He can assault your mind and emotions, but he cannot touch the core of a soul that has abandoned itself to God. That tiny flame of peace is God's own presence within you, and it is the one thing the devil cannot extinguish. Padre Pio lived this reality. To one soul tormented by anxiety, he commanded, "Do not be afraid." The devil is capable of confusing our heads, but not of snatching our hearts. That is the key. The head, the mind, the emotions, that is the battlefield where the noise is. The heart, the core of your will, your soul is the sanctuary where God resides. The sign of victory is when you can distinguish between the two. You can observe the storm in your mind without letting it become the truth of your heart. Padre Pio called this holy indifference. You acknowledge the attacks. You see the temptations for what they are, but you do not engage. You simply turn your gaze back to Jesus. This infuriates the enemy more than anything, because it shows him he has no real power. He's just a noisy dog barking outside the impenetrable fortress of your soul. For some souls, like Padre Pio, the battle can even spill into the physical realm. This is the enemy's last, most desperate resort. When he cannot win the battle for the soul, he attacks the body. The stories of Padre Pio's physical battles are terrifying. He would be found in his cell beaten, bruised, and exhausted, the room in disarray. The demons, he said, knew they could not take his soul, so they vented their rage on his body. But even here, we see the sign of his victory. He never despaired. He would offer up his physical suffering in union with Christ's, turning the devil's own attack into a prayer for the conversion of sinners. This is the ultimate defeat for the enemy, when his own evil actions are transformed by grace into something good and meritorious. It shows that he has truly lost all control. So how do we cultivate that inner peace and fight back effectively? Padre Pio gives us the blueprint. His number one weapon was the rosary. He called it simply the weapon. He was never without it. He prayed dozens of rosaries every single day. Why? Because the rosary is not just a recitation of prayers. It is a meditation on the life of Christ through the eyes of his mother. It takes you out of your own head, out of your own struggles, and places you at the scenes of the gospel. It anchors your mind in truth. Furthermore, the devil is terrified of Our Lady. She is the woman from the book of Genesis, destined to crush his head. Every Hail Mary is a blow against his pride, a reminder of his ultimate defeat at the hands of a humble virgin. When you are under attack, Padre Pio would say, do not argue with the temptation. Do not analyze it. Just grab your rosary and pray. His other essential weapons were the sacraments, confession, and the Eucharist. Padre Pio spent 12, 15, even 18 hours a day in the confessional. He called it the bath of the soul. In confession, we not only have our sins forgiven, but we receive sanctifying grace that strengthens us for future battles. The devil wants to keep you away from confession by using shame and pride. He wants you to believe your sins are too great, or that the priest will judge you. That is a lie. Confession is the place of victory. The Eucharist, receiving Jesus himself, is the ultimate nourishment. Padre Pio said, "It is easier for the earth to exist without the sun than without the Holy Mass." When you receive the Eucharist, you are literally bringing the presence of God into the temple of your body. The devil cannot stand this. He flees from the presence of the Eucharist. These are not mere symbols. They are real, grace-filled encounters with God that arm you for war. And at the head of this army, commanding all these spiritual weapons, is the Blessed Virgin Mary. Padre Pio's devotion to her was immense and childlike. He entrusted everything to her. He would tell people, "She is the sea through which we sail to the shores of eternal splendor." In spiritual warfare, she is our general. She knows the enemy's tactics because she is his sworn enemy. Entrusting yourself to her, especially through a formal consecration, places you under her direct protection. When the devil looks at a soul consecrated to Mary, he doesn't just see the soul, he sees her, and he trembles. This is not just pious sentiment. It is a strategic move in the spiritual war. You are putting the most powerful creature in the universe between you and your enemy. It is a battle she has already won. So if you are watching this, and you feel like you are that weary soldier, if you are in the thick of the battle and feel your strength failing, this message is for you. The intensity of your struggle is not a measure of your weakness. It is a measure of your importance in God's plan. The devil is attacking you with such ferocity because he sees the saint you are becoming. He sees the good you will do, the souls you will lead to God, and he is desperate to stop you before you realize your own potential. Do not be discouraged. Do not mistake the violence of the battle for the outcome of the war. Every temptation resisted, every prayer said through gritted teeth, every act of faith in the darkness is a massive victory that echoes in eternity. You are not being punished. You are being promoted to the front lines. Remember God's unbreakable promise. He will not allow you to be tempted beyond your strength. With every temptation, he also provides a way out. The grace is always there. The very fact that you are being tempted so severely is proof that God has infused you with an even greater amount of grace to withstand it. He trusts you. He has chosen you for this battle because he knows, with his grace, you can win. Padre Pio would often repeat the words of Jesus, "Do not be afraid. I have conquered the world." He has already won the war. Our battles are just the playing out of that ultimate victory in our own lives. Your job is not to win the war. That is already done. Your job is to stay close to the victor. The modern world wants to medicate this spiritual struggle away. It tells you that these feelings of doubt, anxiety, and desolation are merely chemical imbalances or psychological issues. And while God can certainly work through medicine and therapy, we must not be blind to the reality of the spiritual realm. To deny the battle is to disarm ourselves. Instead, we must follow the path of the saints, the path of Padre Pio. We must see the battle for what it is, a chance for heroism, a chance to prove our love for God not in times of consolation, but in times of trial. This is where love becomes real. This is where faith is forged into an unbreakable shield. Do not resent the battle. Do not run from it. With the weapons God has given you, you can face it. And, in facing it, you will find a deeper union with Him than you ever thought possible. The ultimate sign that the devil is losing is that, despite everything, you are still here. You are still seeking God. You are still fighting. The very act of watching this video is a victory. So take heart. The next time the storm comes, look for that tiny, quiet anchor of peace in your soul. Nurture it. Protect it. Cling to it. And know that it is the presence of the victorious King, reigning in your heart even as His enemies rage outside the gates. You are not being defeated. You are being crowned. The battle is the coronation. If this message has helped you, know that you are not alone. There are thousands of others fighting the same good fight. Share your experience in the comments below, not for your own sake, but to give strength to another soldier who needs to hear it. Your story could be the weapon someone else needs today. God bless you.